Subi Romero about why Aurora makes a big difference in scalability, reliability, and availability so that your games, when you're playing them, you don't even know about the database.
Hey, thank you very much. So I cover global business development for all the MySQL engines at AWS. So one of the big things about databases is nobody recognizes it when it is going well, but when it falls apart, it demonstrates itself in the gamer's experience, which is huge. So in this booth, we are really talking about why Aurora and what is the value it offers. So the big deal with Amazon Aurora is customers and gamers, gaming companies around the world have asked, what is that we can offer in a cloud-native way to make the games more reliable and more available and be more performant to support their global growth, right? So what Amazon Aurora offers is the speed and availability of commercial-grade databases with the simplicity and manageability of what people have come to expect from cloud databases. So what we have built for Amazon Aurora is, the key innovation is really kind of splitting the compute from the storage, which offers high availability across multiple availability zones with Amazon Aurora. So even if you were to lose an entire data center and availability zone, you have high availability based on how we do replication across our shared storage with Amazon Aurora. So that is a big thing. Now we integrate very closely with our ecosystem. So for example, if within a game, if you were to launch a message, so what you can do is you can use triggers to call an AWS Lambda service, which triggers the simple messaging service. So you can send messages based on when you need within a game based on specific activities that happen. So the other key feature is really around what we call serverless. So one of the challenge in the gaming world is you need to predict what the workload is going to be and provision resources. With serverless, what customers can benefit from is we take away the need to provision servers and make it simpler for our customers to bring up the infrastructure on a need basis, scale up or down, and we kind of dumb it down for our customers to serve their gamers. So that is one big thing. And the other thing is, given that gaming workloads are global in nature, what we offer is the ability to do cross-region replication. With cross-region replication in a single master region, in the primary region you have a master and up to 15 replicas, but when you look at the secondary region you can have up to 16 replicas. So based on where your gamers are, you can distribute your traffic, have low latency so that your games are better adopted, and also even if you were to lose a whole region with an RPO of less than a second, you can bring up the secondary region, which is going to be huge. And the third one is really around the cool feature that we talk about to customers that is really valuable is what we call backtrack. Invariably things do go wrong within your infrastructure, but when they do go wrong, how do you do a root cause analysis? So what we offer is something called backtrack. So basically, Aurora enables you to go back in time and restore at a point in time where you want to go back at. So the backtrack works great with the snapshots, with what we call as some of the other services that we are building here. So what we call fast cloning. So with fast cloning, what you can do is you can take a clone of your database and given that it is a pointer in time, a pointer to the database, it is really fast. You're not creating a replica. So it is valuable in two aspects. One is it is really fast, and two, you don't incur additional costs. So in a gaming world, if something were to go wrong, what you do is you create a fast clone, you run backtrack on it, go back in time, run your test or your root cause analysis, and then you can get rid of the clone. So which is one, super fast, convenient, and saves a lot of cost from a customer perspective. So those are some of the key features that have been resonating at GDC when we talk about Aurora and the value it offers to our customers.
I don't think he left me any questions other than this. If I'm a game development, where are we, like a producer, and my IT people come to me and they say, hey, I want to run on Aurora. What are the couple of things they're going to tell me that's going to convince me right off the back that that's the right way for me to move forward?
One, it is super easy to get started with. It is well managed, so you get all the CloudWatch kind of analytics that go with it. So, and then for people to migrate on, the big question is, how can I seamlessly migrate onto Aurora based on my existing engine, right? So we have got database migration service and a whole lot of other programs to make it simpler for customers to move to Aurora. And the big thing is, because it is drop-in compatible with both MySQL and Postgres, which is the widely adopted platforms out there, which are self-managed, it makes it very easy for customers to get started on Aurora and be on Aurora and get all the performance benefits that people have.
Best performance, great prices, all built around what the customer's going to need. It's a fantastic story, right? It's a great story. So I'm going to turn around here because there's also DynamoDB, which we're going to talk to Antoine here a little bit about. All right, so after a closer look at the Aurora database, that got me thinking, how do I even decide what database I need? Well, fortunately, I've got Antoine from our solutions architect team to help me answer that. He's been working with a bunch of customers trying to solve their workflows, and we're going to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure.
Take it away.
Yeah, definitely one of the key things that AWS is keen about when we're looking at databases and analytics is this notion of choosing the right tool for a job, right? So instead of offering like one big multi-purpose tool that tries to do everything, we really want to focus on making sure we give you a tool that's purpose-built and that's really optimized for what you're trying to do. So as you can see here, we have a ton of offerings. Some of them we've had nearly since the start, others are just a few months old, but the whole idea here is they're all built around what our customers are telling us they're trying to achieve in terms of databases. And whenever we feel that there's somewhat of a gap in terms of the offerings, that's where we really dive deep, double down, and look at building a new service there. So some of the questions that you would typically ask, and that's what I do as a solutions architect, is I come in and I try to see what are you trying to do? That's really the first question. What are you trying to achieve? And then afterwards, it's looking at what are the types of data? What's the data coming in? Who are the consumers of that data? How does the data need to be persisted? And what are some of the requirements around, let's say, the availability or durability of the data? And that's what really informs, typically, from that whole set of services that also have engines and functionalities down to one or two options that are worth exploring further, right? So yeah, that's really the...
And this is really a place where your expertise, and also the number of customers we've helped really comes into play. I'd imagine there are a number of variables like how fast do I need the data to be processed? Is it something that needs to get back to the game state immediately? Can you talk to me a little bit about maybe a couple of choices, trade-offs that I might be thinking about making when I choose a database?
Yeah. Definitely. So if we just look at relational versus key value store, like the whole relational versus NoSQL discussion, more and more we're seeing there's a lot of workloads that are being put into relational databases just because that's where they always were, right? And what we're seeing is that there's a lot of these use cases that don't need a lot of complex querying or a lot of processing to be done to join and aggregate this data. And that's where a NoSQL store that's properly designed in terms of schema and the access patterns, that's where you really see a lot of gains in terms of the throughput and in terms of the performance that you might get. So that's one of those keys there. In terms of also looking at the latency that you're looking for. Are you looking at, for example, a back-end service where, let's say, you're authenticating, and if you got a sub-second response, that's perfectly fine, versus, let's say, a cache that is between two services where you're really looking at each one of these milliseconds. So that's another big factor of what's the latency between your consumer and your producer. So that can inform a lot of these technical decisions.
It's a really important relationship. I mean, every one of us has experienced that moment where we're on the couch holding the controller and it's like, wait please, hold please, we see that. But being able to solve these problems, like understanding latency tolerance, understanding what sort of data you're pushing, it makes a huge difference. And customers are really benefiting from it, right?
Yep.
Antoine, thanks so much for that. We're going to have more, whoa, if I keep the mic in front of me, we're going to have more coming right back from GDC 2019 and the Amazon Game Tech booth.